roughly 1 centimeter contraction per month can be done by this in vitro forces. So myofibroblasts are involved in several pathologic contractures like Viking's disease, morbus Letterhouse, frozen shoulders, and frozen lumbers as well. So let me comment on fascia and pain syndromes. And there are quite good data about lumbar fascia, that's why I go into this field. So this is a well-accepted hypothesis for the development of low back pain. If you look at the main components, this is the spinal column and spinal muscles where coordination and activation is disturbed during this mechanism of back pain. So we looked at an MRI scan and we found out that the lever to the facet joint is much shorter than the lever, let's say, to the posterior layer of the fascia. So fascia is a load-bearing component of the spine, not only here, but also here, here, here. And so it is very natural that, or we thought that the fascia should be included in this pain model. Furthermore, we know that fascia has a very rich innervation in terms of nociceptors and mechanoreceptors. So Langevin showed that in back pain patients, the lumbar fascia has a 25% increase in thickness. So this means that this hypothesis of fascial contribution to lumbar back pain is true. So these are neurophysiological experiments conducted by Professor Menzi from Heidelberg, and he did a recording of dorsal root neurons after chemical inflammation of the lumbar spine. And he could show that if you have an artificial inflammation, the neurons with an input from fascial tissues, from myofascial tissues here in the lumbar spine, have a huge increase. So roughly 20% of all afferent neurons have an input from fascial tissues of the inflamed area. So this is quite a lot. So we know that fascia has a lot of nociceptors inside. It has a lot of mechanoreceptors inside. But these are new data of this Menzi group as well. And they show that substance P, as well as a calcitonin gene-related peptide, is found in fascia. Both substances are attributed to chronic pain syndromes. So if you look at some more physiological experiments, then I will show you this type of experiments which divides the proprioceptors and the nociceptors. Proprioceptors and the proprioceptive neurons, they are usually myelinated, and tetrodotoxin can block these myelinated nerve fibers. And what you see that if you have a potential here, is this is blocked after TTX treatment, which means that proprioception is blocked. However, pain perception at the same experiment increases. So obviously there is a homeostasis between nociception, pain perception, and proprioception. So if you look at clinical data, the clinical data show that pain is associated with diminished proprioception. So basically the same idea, but in clinical words. So there is obviously a homeostasis between those two parameters. So of course, this is experimentally based, but you know that the central nervous system has a huge impact on our pain perception. And so these are experiments showing that these descending pathways have a strong influence on pain perception. So this is a drawing of the brainstem and the spinal cord, and the people blocked the spinal cord transmission by cold block. And if you watch at the normal signals, the normal signals give signals with strong stimulus, strong signal, weak stimulus, no signal at all. After cooling the spinal cord, so cutting down the cortical influence, the signals are much higher. So, and even the small stimulus gives a high response. This means that the central nervous system gives a lot of influx to this threshold processing of the pain. So, I hope I could convince you that fascia, it has a huge impact on biodynamics, on energy saving mechanisms, and it acts like a servo mechanism because the preload of the muscle can optimize the sarcomeres for the muscle for optimized conditions, for having the optimum energy output and the optimum energy supply. So, furthermore, I think I convinced you that fascia is a very sensitive organ and probably the second biggest after the ocular retina in terms of number of receptors. So, for conclusion, I want to show you a clinical example which fits into this leg pain symposium. A friend of mine, Uwe Schütz, who is a radiologist, he followed a long-distance runners with a mobile MRI. He had a 28-ton truck. Here he drove it himself through whole Europe. And the runners started at Bari, which is in South Italy, went through 6 countries, and then finally they reached the North Cape after 64 stages. So this means the runners had to run a distance between 1 and 2.5 marathon distances every day, so no day with break. So this is quite a task. And this is an example of a 51-year-old guy, and this is day 1. So it shows the lower leg, here, lower leg of this guy, and you see basically control value. Everything is well defined, the shape is alright, and then I go ahead, and this is at stage 25, 1,700 kilometers later. And what you see is signal enhancement on fascial tissue. You also see a muscle wasting, and you can see that the shape is not homogeneous as it was at the beginning. And this guy suffered of leg pain. I will show you the legs of this guy. So you see reddish discoloration, and he had also painful hardening of his calves. And, but nevertheless, the runners, they are very keen on finishing, so take a lot of painkillers and so on. Basically, he kept on running with this speed. So, as a result, to me it is surprising that not cardiovascular problems or not any muscular weakness were a problem for reassignment, but the most common cause for reassignment was leg pain. So it's quite important to have healthy feet then, I guess. So I want to end by changing the title of an article Men's Health wrote recently about fascia, and this is a magazine which is quite big, at least as far as I know in the US. So they say, they wrote an article about fascia, and I want to change the title to Everything You Knew About Muscles Before This Meeting is Wrong. Thanks for your attention.